All right, we're going to begin this section by talking about graphs of numerical data. Okay, so we're going to be introducing a framework that describes this numerical data, and that framework is going to include shape, kind of what's the shape of the graph, where's the center of the graph, and we'll talk about different ways of what we mean by center. We'll talk about the spread. Is everything kind of really close together, or is things like pretty spread apart? And then also some other unusual features that we'll get to in a future video. I don't want to spoil it for you. So to start, we're going to start by introducing these concepts via examples and and specifically how to represent visually some of these things. So we're going to start with an example and talk about 15 made-up exam scores for some made-up stats class. Not your exams. All of you guys are going to get 100%, I'm sure. But just in general, here are some data points. And now we're going to start by drawing a dot plot for this data. So a dot plot is basically just a number line on the bottom. And then we draw dots. And then however many dots we have. So for example, right, if we have 3 dots, that means 3 people are at that point in the number line. Okay. So we're going to start off by drawing our number line, and our number line has to start at least, below 30. Whoa, that was the wrong button. 30. And then it has to go up to 100. Okay, so maybe let's count down, right? Maybe this is 100. And then 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30. We can pretend that they're close enough. It doesn't have to be really exact. Just do your best. The idea is that we have a number line and we're going to have readable data. And then we just find where these points are on the number line and then add them up. Okay, so 31 is a dot. 31 is maybe like right here. And then the next one is 62. And we just go through it for all of these. Okay, so for 62, we go over here and say 62, maybe that's right there. 65 is right in the middle. 70 is right there. 76 is over here. 81 is right here. 82 is right next to it. That's a little hard to read. Try to separate these. 81 and 82 are right next to each other. And then there's another 82. There's a second 82, so we just draw a second dot on top of the 82. And then again, there's an 87 and an 88 and an 89. They're really close to each other right here. And then a 94, a 95 again right next to each other, a 98, and a 100. So a lot of times in dot plots, you really have a lot of things stacked up, and it really shows the data visually, the distribution of the data points really, really easily. And, you can easily just count, oh, there are 5 of them with this value, etc. But in this case, there's not a lot of duplicates. You can sometimes put the scores in bins, like we're going to do for a histogram. But in general, this is how you have a dot plot. Draw your number line, put the dots on the number line, and then stack them up if there are repeats. Okay, so that's a dot plot. Now we're going to do a very similar one with a histogram. And again, notice in this histogram, it comments that our bin width is 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our data and we're going to sort it into bins, each with a width of 10. So we're going to have one bin for people who got something in the 30s, another one for people in the 40s, another one for people in the 50s. Note that the size of each of these is 10 units. Okay, and then so on. People who got Ds, people who got Cs, people who got Bs, and then people that got A's, Dang it. So if we want everything to be the same size, I don't know whether I want to go to 99 or 100, because if I go to 100, either way, it's not going to all be the same size. But these are the bins that kind of make sense in this situation. So we'll let it slide. In this, we're going to be making histograms with technology anyway. But in this case, this is probably the most instructive method of doing it. And then we just have to count the frequency. Okay, so these are the bins over here. The bins or the range. Then over here, we're going to count the frequency. So we scroll up and maybe zoom out. One of these is zoom out. Is it this one? Yeah. Let's zoom out a little bit momentarily, just so we can easily look at the data and put it on our table. So how many 30s are there? There's one thing in the 30s. There are no 40s. There are nothing in the 50s. And then there are two things in the 60s. There are two things in the 70s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the 80s. And then 1, 2, 4 A's. And you should always make sure when you're doing these, when you're making these bins, that all the numbers, all the frequencies add up to however many data points we have. So we were told that we have 15 exam scores. All of these data points should add up to 15. If they don't, then I counted wrong. So 1 plus 2 plus 2 is 5. Plus 6 is 11. Plus 4 is 15. So again, this adds to 15. That's important. All right. So now we can go back to the larger setting. Whoa. Jumping ahead to some future videos real quick. Let's slow down here. And then let's draw the histogram. So again, these bins are going to be the x-axis, and the frequency is going to be the y-axis. Over here, going to be our frequency, and on the bottom, it's going to be our bins. So again, maybe this is 90 to 100 is right here. Over here is 80 to 89. Or if you'd like to make it a little simpler, we can just write it like so. 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 0. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first bin. The first bin, there's nothing before this. So 30 to 39 is going to be our first thing in the histogram. So between 30 and 39, we're going to draw a frequency up to 1, right? Frequency 1, frequency 2, etc. on the left. So what we have right here is 30 to 39 is going to go up like this. Here, let's make this a little thicker so it's a little easier to see. This might be too thick. Just like so. And again, there's nothing in the 40s. There's nothing in the 50s, but then 60s is going to be up to. 70s is also going to be up to. 80s is all the way up to 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 90 is at 4. In the last video of this section, we'll also talk about how to do these with technology. In reality, the only reason we're doing these by hand is for instruction. But in reality, we're going to be doing technology for most things in this class, all right? And if you want to shade it in, make it look a little nicer, you can, which is good. The main thing about histograms is that they are always touching, okay? The bar from one histogram should always be touching the bar of the one to the side, right? So notice how all these bars are touching. That's a big difference between histograms and bar charts, okay? So if I can get back to that normal thickness, whatever thickness I had earlier, Maybe it was that, maybe not. That is a histogram. All right, and that's the video. Let me know if you have any questions.